Thank you so much. I don't think our session is going to be as exciting and invigorating as the one we've just witnessed, but we're going to try and make it as exciting for you as possible. Like we've already said, we're talking about content to commerce and what it takes to develop a good content marketing strategy. So content marketing, a content marketing strategy is really a systematic, a strategic marketing approach to creating relevant, valuable, and consistent content for defined customer cohorts, which ultimately leads to sales. Now, we know that a lot of brands today are investing heavily in content marketing, but very few of them, in fact, less than 50% of them really know how to measure the effectiveness of that content marketing. So I think it's important to take a step back and really go down to basics and understand, what is it that companies need to do to push the needle as far as content marketing goes. So I'll start actually with Riddhi. I'll start with you and ask you, how really does content marketing work given the fact that you're not tacitly promoting and pushing products or services at people? So how would you measure the efficacy, or what is it really?
Thank you so much, Madhavi, for the question, and thank you so much for all of you for being here. I will actually want to comment on the term content marketing to start with. I think marketing without content doesn't exist. Just take, for example, it will be like the Diwali gift. It will be like Son Papadi. Even if the best I package it, once you open it, it will fall flat, okay? So content marketing is actually finding out who actually wants Son Papadi in the room and whom should I sell it to. Rather than, you have to actually create a case for it. So the fact that how it works and why it works today is also because we are in the age where we want instant gratification, we have, we are running at a speed. So imagine marketing old school started with radios, prints. Prints replaced radio, radios were replaced by television. I think it took 50 years for radio to reach a certain million audience, and it took 13 years for TV. They say it took 1.5 years for Instagram, and it took 48 hours for Pokemon Go. So imagine the speed at which we consume content and the speed at which a certain piece of content affects us. So the fact that content marketing is relevant today, primarily for, I think, it's a beautiful panel here, and one of my favorite content marketing brands is actually Meesho. Because content marketing for big brands is an easy game. What actually makes stand out is the challenger brands. And that actually makes or breaks a story. And I think Vishal was giving a fantastic example when we were discussing. I'm sure he'll do that. So for me, content marketing will work because a good content actually goes ahead and entertains people. It adds value, engagement. Engagement can start conversations, and conversation is your biggest drive for distribution. It's the easiest way. It saves you distribution. The moment it starts conversation, it saves you distribution. So yeah, I hope I answered the question.
Yes, you did. Neha, I'd like to go to you now and ask you, what do you think are the essential elements of a successful content marketing strategy? It's a broad question, but, briefly, if you could tell us.
Sure. Thanks, Madhvi, for that question. I think the most essential element for content marketing is to know what is your business goal. What is it that you want to do with that piece of content or your strategy over a period of time, right? And the business goal can vary from that I want to increase awareness, that okay, I exist as a brand, to build consideration or even sales. And it will depend on where the consumer is in the journey, where the brand is in the journey. Are you at the launch of a product, or have you reached a certain stage but you now want to bring recall and repeats, and therefore your content strategy would change, right? As Riddhi said that, she likes Meesho's content strategy, and I think the second step that brings us to after the goal is understand your audience. Like Meesho, we are built for tier 2, tier 3 Bharat in a way, right? I can't go out there and start talking to them in English or start giving them content trends or fashion trends because I need to engage with them and converse with them. I cannot take a higher pedestal and be like, okay, आज से मैं तुम्हें बताऊंगी क्या करना है,
You're
right?
going to talk down to them.
I can't talk down on my consumer. I can't think and feel that I need to take that space of an educator or bring them up to speed with trends. They know enough and more already. I need to become their facilitator to say, okay, these are the trends, you know them already, now I'll tell them as to how will I bridge that gap through my business and how will I make your life better. So the two most important things, know your business goal, know your audiences and go to their level and communicate rather than saying, we are a group of marketers sitting in our rooms. There is a content consumption bias that I might have than what a tier 2, tier 3 person will consume. I can't create content from my sensibilities and expect them to interact with them. So I think these three are the most essential elements of any successful content marketing strategy.
I think that's really well said. Disha, I'd like to ask you, how do you think you can use content marketing to target specific customer cohorts, through their life cycles on whether it's an online space or offline?
Hi, thanks for the question. So what I've realized is that adding to what Neha said, right, that content starts at the awareness stage. So at all the stages of the funnel, be it tofu, mofu, bofu, right, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, across all stages, we have to make sure that the content is channeled in a distribution method that the audience understands. So your tofu can have blogs. Your bottom of the funnel needs to have case studies because those are going to be the deciding factors. So across the funnel, you have to make sure that the content being read by your audience is essentially what they want to read and on a platform that they understand. So what you might send out as a WhatsApp notification is going to be very, very different versus what you're going to be sending out to a newsletter. Adding to what Meesho is doing, right? It's very important to understand what your audience wants to read in a language that they want to understand, that they understand.
And in different formats as well,
Yes,
right?
yes. So from the creation to the distribution, everything is very target audience specific. There is a lot of data available. There are stats available to understand your audience better. It's very important to sort of spend time analyzing those data points and then breaking down your content funnel-wise. Right now, we have a lot of, we have CRMs that help us understand which companies the customers are coming or prospects are coming from. Very important to leverage that. Content strategy at the start of every quarter should ideally look like partnering with everyone in the organization and understanding who are we talking to. What is the product going to talk about? What is the service going to talk about? And then maybe building on that. That helps understand who the sales folks are going to be talking to, at which stage of the funnel, right? Because content marketing is not just for promoting a product. It's also for someone to help explain what the product does or what the service does. So we're essentially giving a script to the entire company to sort of branch out and explain what needs to get done.
So, from everything that we've all said and, largely content marketing looks at reaching out to our customers where they are and talking to them in the way that best suits their needs. Vishal, I'd like to ask you, how do you think a brand gets built through content marketing? Because everything is very customer focused. So how are we actually benefiting the brand here?
I think at multiple levels, like she mentioned, from the stage of the customer seeking some awareness for the brand, to him trying to consider, to him meeting the brand and then actually going on to purchase, and then the post-purchase service that the customer needs from the brand, and even the next level. Most importantly, how do you use content marketing to get your current set of customers to actually go out and refer or get more people in the fold? So at every stage of the customer journey, I think content marketing benefits the brand. I think, like she mentioned, there is no marketing without content marketing. I think brands need to possibly start looking at this like newsrooms do. It's a clear fundamental shift. Like they say, giving an analogy of cricket, like T20 cricket, you need a different mindset of players, a mindset that is attuned to the modern day cricket that is being played. Maybe some of the traditional players may not be suitable there. Likewise, for content marketing, the mindset shift has to happen. You need to move away from looking at it as purely old school traditional marketing to operating as a newsrooms. Brand need to be literally content monsters, for want of a better word. And you mentioned, someone mentioned metrics. I mean, you don't have just one metric for measuring content marketing efficacy. Whether and it just cannot be only sales. It could be how many more relevant leads are you getting? How many more leads to appointments are you able to convert on account of content marketing? How many more appointments to conversions are you able to make? How many more customers are you able to retain? How many more customers are you able to stop from going out of your system or lapsing? How many more customers are you able to get them to refer more to get into your fold? So when there are so many metrics, and of course the traditional brand health scores of awareness, consideration, etc. If there are so many metrics that we want or we expect content marketing to address, then therefore content marketing cannot be a one-off exercise. At every stage of the consumer life cycle, you have to have interventions for content marketing, and it has to be all at one. It cannot be, I'll do this much for 6 months, possibly see what's happening, then do something else for 6 months. That approach may not work, will not work, and that's the mindset shift that's needed for brands if they are considering to invest in content marketing. And when I say invest, it's not just money. It's not about big budgets. It's about investing your energies and time in it.
Disha, I'd like to ask you the same question. To you, in your mind, what are the metrics that one should use? I mean, Vishal really explained it beautifully in terms of all the various metrics through that customer, not just transacting with the brand, but also the follow-throughs and getting other people onto the, to interact with the brand. In your mind, what are the different metrics that one should be using to measure the success of a content marketing strategy?
So I think brand awareness is one metric. People need to be aware that you exist, right? And content marketing beautifully sort of facilitates that. Content marketing across funnel facilitates that. What is also important is the leads to ops that you mentioned, as well as the retention. I feel it's very important for content marketing to retain your customers. Not just content marketing, any form of marketing essentially needs to retain customers, right? Your customers need to come back. You use products such as, say, a Zepto or a Dunzo. Primarily, you're going to keep buying products, or you're going to keep buying from them when you know that they're selling the product well. For me to come to a ShopStop website and purchase something on a repeated basis, ShopStop knows how to retain me. So that I'm continuously purchasing from the same platform over and over again, because there is just a dearth of options available right now. So maybe retention is something that we need to look at. And we have the usual metrics such as organic traffic that is coming in. Social media. Social media is a beautiful way to sort of engage your audiences across different platforms and in different manners. What you're going to be talking, say, on LinkedIn is not the same language that you're going to be using on Twitter. So very, very important to understand whether your audience on LinkedIn is interested in reading something, say, about thought leadership, or do they want to know more about your how-tos on a product? And do they keep coming back? Do they click on the call to action there? Using social media, using video platforms, YouTube. We don't have TikTok, unfortunately, but TikTok works wonderfully outside India. So I think Instagram works wonderfully here. So maybe just retaining as well as making sure that awareness is done through those platforms is very, very important.
Riddhi, I'd like to ask you, when you look at the customer profile and look at cohorts on a platform, there are different people at different phases in their life cycles and journeys on a platform. So, I mean, I come from a beauty background, so I can tell you that in the beauty space, there are 4 to 5 different personas of customers who shop for beauty. They could be at the start of their beauty journeys, they could be, stalwarts, and then there could be people who want to try different trends, or they could be deal seekers. So or they could be into very natural, conscious beauty. They make natural, conscious beauty choices. My question is, would one content marketing strategy fit all those different cohorts, or would one, as a successful content marketer, devise different strategies for different customer cohorts?
Amazing question, first of all. I think one line, if I was Samito, I know it's a very big question and it'll take time for me to explain and go through it. But the first line that defines, again, how to define a content strategy is that if content is king, then I think context is the queen. So if you want the queen,
Very well said.
so if you think that context, if you set that context right. And one more thing, we always approach content strategy, like even in the question while we were discussing, we were approaching it from the consumer point of view. I think the first step to content strategy is to actually think inward. It gets you to introspect. What do you think as a brand you want to do? What Neha started with, I can't look down upon them, but I have to go at their level and talk to them. Okay, now, ab main samajhta hu. So, aur bata kya chal raha hai? So you need to decide, aur bata kya chal raha hai? Oh, what are you doing? Or what's up? So if all of them are my audiences, then my communication across platforms changes the way I want to reach out to them. So if I'm going for a beauty aspirational who is into organic beauty mantra, I would want to maybe block a certain period of time on Instagram when I know, okay, this particular person will be, available. I have all the metrics with me to handle. If I am actually just trying young audiences, I might go and create a snap and a streak. If I am looking at someone who's actually a pro at it, I'll go on a LinkedIn and I'll actually put, this is the science behind it. If I want to actually get even better, I would write article on Medium which will not look like an advertorial, but talk about it. So no, one strategy won't fit, one thought will. The idea is that I want to reach out to XYZ, and it's about humanizing your brand. As a person, I am a best friend with an amateurish makeup person as well. My colleague is someone who is just a fanatic when it comes to makeup. I don't go beyond Kajal. And, my mother-in-law would be, oh my God, what's new? So if I can, as a human being, communicate with all that, why can't a brand? So, of course, I'm taking an example of someone established, but Amul gets to everyone. They don't create a separate content for each generation. The fact that they get to everyone, I know every social media agency or a content agency or advertising agency enters the room and they hear Amul Banado. So I'm saying that maybe we have heard it enough, but the fact that a few people have aced it and they are in their content marketing at a journey where they don't anymore have to establish themselves. But there's an Ixigo also doing it so well, okay? So the fact that you have to know your customer as well as yourself very well. Do you want to spend that 1 crore budget on making a video, or you would rather get 100 people within your office to share it the moment it went live? It'll get you the initial traction and conversation that you wanted. So yes, you'll have to strategize it in a manner that it reaches out multiple people, and no one size won't fit all. I hope that answers.
So, Vishal, I'll take this question to you again. I mean, you worked with multiple brands, across industry, from auto to, to beauty, for example. Can you give me an example of a brand that has actually successfully reached out to different audiences within their entire cohort through clever content marketing?
I think one of our, I'll answer that with an example of video content that we've created for a brand across the life cycle of the customer. Club Mahindra, for example. We create a lot of video content around the resorts. Now, The idea is to sizzle the prospect with, you know, the fascination of what a lifetime of holidays could entail if you buy a product like this. Now, that piece of content is used both at the digital platform level and at the sales pitch level. Obviously, when it's used on digital for prospecting, it's more about what the family will enjoy over 25 years, the experiences, etc. So the experience quotient of the entire family enjoying together is something that is dialed up at the prospecting stage on digital platforms. At the sales pitch stage, it is more the resort facilities. It is more creating the sizzle around the destination and the property, because he's already sold on the experience when he's gone through that funnel of, you know, prospecting, you know, sharing his lead data, getting an appointment done. So at the sales pitch level, that is the kind of, you know, content that is created. And the other piece of content that is shared at the sales pitch level is customer testimonials. So real customer testimonials, and that is almost at the final stage where he's reasonably sure he's given a token amount, and then that gap of 3-4 days between him paying the final amount is when a customer testimonial is thrown in. So these are the first 3 stages. Then once he comes on board, then at that point in time, there is a video content around how do you onboard yourself as a member. It's more, now here, it's less a digital film or a TV commercial and more like a tutorial. It's like an onboarding tutorial as to how you can, and it's more like a legitimized hack, how you can hack your first holiday. How should you book your first holiday, where you should go to, depending on the interests and hobbies that you had suggested in your member application form. So we recognize that. So multiple 3 or 4 or 5 versions of such tutorials are created and then accordingly sent to them basis some of their interests and hobbies. Once he's into the system and he's taken his first holiday, if he's taken a first holiday in Kerala, you're now going to sell him the Rajasthan circuit for his next holiday, which might be due 6 months, 9 months down the line. So that's one piece of communication that goes to him. The second piece of communication that goes to him, if you've got his customer satisfaction scores from the holiday, and if he's very happy with his holiday, you ask him, would you like to refer a friend? And maybe want to go on your next holiday with a friend where both can enjoy together. Because if you refer a friend, you get a certain amount of resort vouchers, and your friend gets a certain number of additional days, which both of you can utilize together. It's not bribing you to get a friend. It's actually empowering you to enjoy the holiday much better together as a larger group of friends or family.
With tangible benefits.
These are intangible benefits that are thrown in. So that is before the second holiday. Once he's completed a year, he has to pay an annual subscription fee. He's then sent a reminder video about, you know, we love the fact that you had a great first year. This is just a reminder. And if you were to pay this before time, this is what you might end up getting. And so on and so forth. So if you realize at every stage of the customer journey, he's being sent communication. Now, this into the second year, now you've seen his holiday behavior pattern at the resorts. Is he someone who's big on wellness? Does he take a spa always on his holiday? Is he someone who enjoys eating food and he's tried the local cuisine? You have created video content around local cuisine, around health and wellness, around yoga, which is being offered. And then you actually send out video content to him basis that. So by giving this example, I'm also trying to address one of the earlier questions that how do you create a one-size-fits-all, or do you create content basis these cohorts? You do create content basis
Because
cohorts,
also-
and it is possible.
Because a customer also, I think, evolves in his journey as he's on your platform, which is a classic
Absolutely.
example.
It's
Yeah.
bang on. In fact,
Yeah.
a customer who's purchased a membership in, say, 2012 or 2013, his life stage and his ability to spend and what he expects from his holidays is very, very different. More so post-COVID. What we've realized, especially from our client interactions, that they are willing to spend 1.5 or 2 times more than what they used to spend pre-COVID. They've thrown caution to the wind. It just doesn't matter. They're living for the present and now. And so there is a lot more experiential activity selling that goes on to these customers. And which is where I come back to the original point that I made, that therefore a mindset shift is needed. It cannot be just one television commercial or one digital film.
And that's it. Exactly. You can't do
At
that
every
anymore.
stage you need
Correct.
to do this. And then there are so many metrics. Even an enhanced resort revenue or food revenue at the resort could be linked back to the kind of content you create.
Neha, I have a lot of respect for Meesho and what it's achieved. And I know that you've gone into influencer marketing in a big way as well. Do you think influencer marketing is one of the key pillars of a successful content marketing strategy?
Yeah, I think so. Because, see, just to give you an example, today, if to a room full of people, I keep on saying, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best, what is the acceptance of this room full of people rather than, a Riddhi saying it for me, a Vishal saying it for me, or you saying it for me, and then people will be like, okay, there are enough and more people who are saying it, so maybe it's true. That's with the influencers, right? As a brand, I can keep on bombarding the message. I have the best of trends, I have the best of quality, return, refund, whatever. But the moment an influencer comes into the picture, no one else can bring credibility and authenticity to a brand like what an influencer can. And therefore, I feel it's one of the most effective marketing channels for any strategy, content, non-content. It is the best tool you can use. And also one more thing that I feel is influencers are no longer just media channels. They are great social relationship assets that a brand can make. And the third thing is like the traditional advertising, right? You have a brand, you have an ambassador or an endorser who will come and say, use this product, etc. People have become very, very smart and they see through it and they know कि ये सिर्फ पैसे के लिए बोल रहा है. We all, when we saw the Shah Rukh Khan Lux ad, we know it for a fact he's never used Lux in his life, right? And he's just done it for money. But when an influencer comes and tells I'm using an XYZ beauty product all the more because it goes on my skin, etc. I have followed that influencer. I know that iska skin type or mera skin type same hai. If she's saying that this product works well or this product breaks me out, I can take her word and at least try. The fourth thing is post-COVID, when people relied on e-commerce a lot more, they didn't go to the market and bought garments, touch and feel became a problem. Influencers gave that tangible element to e-commerce and the products, and especially fashion. They told, okay, this is what the look is, this is what the fit is, this is what the quality is, this is how it'll fit on a body type like mine, which is an average Indian body type and not a supermodels or a celebrities model type, कि उसको तो कुछ भी पहना दो, it'll look nice. Therefore, I feel influencers, the credibility, authenticity that they bring, and there are enough and more reports which are being done by Facebook, which are being done by GroupM, which says that 60% consumers today say that if an influencer recommends a product, the propensity of me trying that product increases by 50% more. And I will go and give it a try. The second thing also is that if an influencer tells you something and you go and try it, if you feel that that product is not for me, the consumer is smart enough to let go of that. Ki, theek hai, this didn't work for me and maybe I will not use it going forward. But the consumer will also look at the influencer and see a trend, and if he or she realizes that this influencer is just giving opinion for the sake of it and for the money, the consumer will unfollow that influencer, and that influencer, at least for that consumer, loses the credibility. And that's where a lot of your micro and nano influencers or your vertical influencers, your category experts come into the picture. They are not your mega influencers or celebrities of the influencer world who will just say, oh, I use this product, but they are not, right? And that's one very, very important thing that we follow at Meesho. Like, for us, rather than my current brand fit with the influencer, I always see what are the kind of brands that the influencer has worked with in the past. We at Meesho will never work with an influencer who in her everyday life wears the best of brands, goes to international holidays. Because the moment I get her into the picture and start talking to Meesho influencer, one, again, coming back, I am talking down to my consumer. Second, I am alienating them in the way. Third, the consumer knows कि it's that Shah Rukh Khan equivalent, ये कभी Meesho से नहीं खरीदेगी, just because the brand has today paid that influencer, she's saying things. So I think, as I said, it's the most important thing because of the credibility and the authenticity. But with that, the brands need to have that filter of, is it a TG fit? Is it a brand fit? Are you try and be very, very cautious that you're not alienating the influence, alienating your consumers in the process. And then it's the most effective strategy is what I feel.
No, you're absolutely right, Neha, because I think there is also, while you said that 50% or 60% of consumers, especially Gen Zs and millennials, rely on what peers and what influencers have to say about a brand rather than what the brand is saying about itself, there is also this level of fatigue and lack of authenticity. So unless, like you said, you sharply fine-tune, who the customer is and who the influencer is and whether the languages match and whether the belief systems match, there's going to be a huge disconnect. But I think there's been a huge success in fields that we never thought influencers would really work. One is, for example, in the finance sector. I've read of many women who give financial advice, for example, to other women. Or there are people who talk about technology in a big way. And I think those influencers, irrespective of who they're addressing, ultimately people are looking at the veracity of the product that they're talking about, more than relying on the influencer's opinion of the product as much. Tell me, Neha, how would you measure the effectiveness of a good influencer marketing strategy?
See, again, tying back to what was my business goal with which I went to the influencer, right? So, as you said, for tech brands and a lot of mobile companies, the objective is that the world should know that I've launched a new mobile awareness, right? So they will reach out to different categories of influencers. They'll reach out to, tech influencers, as we call them, or the experts from your NDTVs who used to, in traditional times, review a product. They will also reach out to fashion influencers who shoot a lot of content to drive home the point that my camera is great. They will also reach out to, your performance influencers or creators who do a lot of dance, reels, etc., to say it also records at a great speed. So the effectiveness of a campaign is one, what is my goal, and therefore, how can I measure it? But see, awareness still is a very, very broad goal. Like at the end of the campaign, if I know that so many reach or so many impressions have been served, I know that the awareness has happened. But the bigger question and a more difficult thing to solve with influencers is when you say, okay, let's start using influencers for a little middle and bottom of the funnel, which is consideration and conversion. And that also somewhere is a kind of a problem with the platform. Like Instagram, which is the biggest platform where influencers exist, does not have clickable surfaces. There are two clickable surfaces. One is link in bio, the second is stories. Stories, self-destruct after 24 hours. Correct. Link in bio, the journey is broken. You tell me in a reel, go check out my link in bio, there's no way in hell I'm going to do that. Exactly. First, I'm not even going to your profile. I'm consuming reels on that reel feed. And then you ask me link in bio, sawal hi nahi hai. Right? So then the problem is, I want to move consideration with influencers. We as a brand, we are a non-branded player. Meesho does not sell any brands, right? You're a seller, you can come, you can sell. I want people to first know that there are categories more than fashion that we sell, home, kitchen, etc. The second is I want to build that credibility consideration over a period of time. But as the platform is concerned, there's no way I can directly attribute it. Because there's no link that I know from an influencer X, if these many people have come to my app, okay, she's driving the consideration. So then what do we do? So there are then some sort of interventions that you need at the product level, at the app level with your tech team and be like, okay, let's do some control and test experiments. Like I will expose certain categories in a market and let's see how the movement of that market on my app changes and therefore I know how my consideration has moved. These are a little bit difficult to track metrics, and we done a very, very detailed kind of industry research and spoke to experts to see that how are they using influencers. Most of them said that we just stop at awareness. And as a result, you know, what has also happened in the influencer economy, and I'm sure you will agree to it, the moment you reach out to an influencer and you say, okay, these are my metrics, which are a little beyond like, shares, comments, they start developing cold feet and they're like, we never signed up for this. We are creators. We are never going to, you know, commit to a number or at least build up for it, which is also a problem because brands are never pushed for it. And if then one brand wakes up and does it, they're like, you know, let's not maybe work together if you guys can't figure a midway. But I think the economy and the way influencers are increasing, that moment will come when brands will be like, okay, awareness is all good. We've all seen like, shares, comments, what we marketers like to call it vanity metrics. But dhanda kahan se aa raha hai? Like, how's it driving to the bottom of the funnel? Some sort of impact you need to show, right? So that's, I think, we as a, you know, in this room, especially we marketers need to think from that perspective and be like, okay, let's start looking at influencers from the mid and the bottom funnel only, because the way the economies are shrinking, marketing is the first place where like, budget band, that's it. And usme bhi if we say, we will get you like, shares and comments, they'll be like, chhod do, if you can't get business. So that's where we all need to collectively.
So Neha, there is this whole, I mean at Nykaa we did it quite successfully. We built out an affiliate marketing program where influencers would create a piece of content and then tag each of their products, which would lead back to our site. And there would be trackable URLs, and they could actually see how many transactions happened through each of those links, and they would get a commission, which frankly is a more effective way to sell than, you know, doing performance advertising. Obviously, more and more brands are going to move in that direction. We'll wait and see how influencers sort of take to that, but it's a fairly a tangible way of measuring, you know, bottom of the funnel actual conversions. I'll end with you, Riddhi. You know, a lot of the fact that content marketing is still fairly sort of, it's a slightly nebulous, you know, not very tangible space in India today. A lot of marketers would still prefer to go the traditional outdoor, you know, media spend kind of route. What would you say to such marketers? What would, you know, how would you convince them to try content marketing as an effective way of growing their brand, increasing profits, revenue, and all of that?
Okay, one more thing I would like to add what Neha said was that the platforms, as she mentioned, are not equipped for the kind of conversations we are having right now. But what is also noteworthy is that the platforms are also learning on the go. So a lot of them are evolving over the period. Like LinkedIn has link on the photographs now. You could click, you could just put a link, and on the picture, the link clicks, it'll become clickable. Similarly, Instagram is, because not just us, even the creators got bored of just like shares. So they have a proper metrics of them earning bonuses and money via Instagram. So it's, content marketing is not one-way road. We also need to realize that not just brands, even the influencers are brands now. Even they are, creators are also brands now. So while हमारी दुकान brand की तरह चल रही है, वो भी अपनी दुकान ही चला रहे हैं. So where do the benefits of both the dukans meet is something that is wait and watch for me, and maybe next year we'll discuss. The second part of how to convert is almost like dharma parivartan karna padega, because there are a lot of people who are like, "Arey no, TV is TV." But I think a lot happened during COVID times. People realized that, you know, even my mother-in-law who did not have a smartphone is busy scrolling YouTube throughout with all the bhajans and all, because it's easy. You just have to scroll, right? So, you know, somewhere in between, if there is some locket or some, you know, chamatkari things that will actually make sure some miracle, that will make sure that, you know, her arthritis goes away, she would want to give it a try. I think the biggest teachings, as Indians especially, because we're talking about Indian market, is storytelling. We are a land of storytellers, and content marketing cannot thrive without stories. It is about stories, and I think even old school, even if you go till Lord Krishna, he was the biggest content marketer alive. He convinced his mother, I did not eat makhan despite the fact that he did. And I think as content marketers, we either convince or confuse or actually make sure surrender. So if we do that, because of the power of storytelling, sooner or later we will get into it. And I think the latest numbers from IMI, from the mobile marketing, this inch that we have in our hand and thumbs. In fact, I was reading somewhere that they have a new product coming up for our thumbs because they are the most tired part of the body we have. So I'm pretty sure that the convincing stage has already come. The stages that we learned the initiator buyer in our marketing classes, I think we're already there where we have become enablers. And I think all the platforms will survive. And content marketing is not just for a particular platform. Content marketing is for all platforms. The reason that Fevicol is also there, they don't need marketing anymore, right? They're there on social media with just one post that says immortality and over their lifetime guarantee, you know, only applicable on furniture. We are already sold. The big brands are there just to make sure that the recall happens on all platforms. So I think they're already convinced that the recall is there. The challenge, as I started with, is with the challenger brands. For people who are disrupting the market, the Mishos, the banking sector that you spoke about, the finance. The banking sector is big in terms of the insurance sector. I think a couple of brands did fantastic work. And in fact, the one big thing is that people actually think that content marketing comes at a very expensive cost, the videos that Vishal was talking about. But I think that myth is also breaking thanks to the platforms that we are talking about. Like, it's easy to get viral on an Instagram, it's easiest. I remember, I think we made a film for 10,000, it went on to 10,000 rupees for, I think, a sanitary brand. Sadly, the brand didn't work anymore, but that campaign went viral. And, you know, it was just moms talking about, you know, you should come out and talk about it. Instead of doing Happy Mother's Day, let's just talk about change. So I'm saying that people will realize the cost effectiveness of it now, rather than, you know, the TV is way more expensive than Instagram. So I think they'll already be convinced after our panel discussion.
Now, this was a great discussion, and thank you for all of you. I think it was really interesting. Thank you so much.